Happy Saturday morning as it's time for another tour through the yard signs. No, 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 not those yard signs. The ones that say home for sale, those yard signs. Cynthia Hash is here. It's the reality of real estate and a beautiful autumn, although, finally got a little bit of rain for the first time in what seems like a month. It rained all the way through June and July and then stopped. It's like somebody crimped the hose.
Isn't that the way, the end of August is supposed to be?
I guess so. I guess so. But I'm sure these are great days to go wandering around and looking at houses. The weather's good, and the properties and the trees all still look great. Lawns are a little brown, but you know what? That's just middle of Virginia.
That's it. That's it. I'm going to be having open houses on the 7th, which is tomorrow,
Hmm.
uh, on the 14th, which is a week from Sunday, and on the 28th, all at Hancock Farms. I have two houses that are finished and ready for everybody to come view, and would love to have everybody there.
And that's
Hancock
up on
Farms.
in Standardsville, right?
It's in Ruckersville.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it is you go down 33 for about a mile and a half, 2 miles, and take a left into Hancock Farms and follow the signs. You will be there between 2 and 4, and and we'll have two different. So it's kind of like a dual open house, so it'll be kind of nice.
Yeah, no, it's fun. And take a look
Yeah,
at these great new houses. We've talked
yeah.
to the builder, and he seems like a really good guy.
Yeah, yeah. And so what we're speaking of, everything is going on in the markets these days. I think what people need to know is that the National Association of Realtors has these, consumer guides, right? And they're really good, I think. And I'll be, adding to it and helping folks get through what we're doing today.
Hmm.
I think that what what a lot of people don't realize is what is a shift? What is a buyer's market versus a seller's market?
Oh,
What
yeah,
does
you
that
hear that in the news all the time.
Yes. And I don't think everybody really fully understands it, and 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 they don't understand the conditions in which, is it favoring the buyer? Is it
Right. And
favoring
is
the
it
seller?
good or bad? I mean, because some people, and I
Mhm.
know some people in the news world will say, "Well, it's a buyer's market now," and they'll make it sound like it's a bad thing or a dire thing, or well, it's a seller's market now, and it's neither good or bad. It just depends on which side of the transaction you're on, correct?
I think sometimes it does, but you'll see, like for instance, what's a buyer's market? So buyer's market, that's when there's more homes for sale than there are people looking for a home to
Hmm.
purchase.
Hmm.
And because you have such a greater selection of homes that are on the market, uh, with less competition, then buyers they're shopping it,
Hmm.
right? They're gonna take more time. They're going to negotiate better terms,
Hmm.
and they might even see price reductions or other kind of purchase incentives, like sellers concessions,
Right.
where seller is paying for some of the buyer's closing costs. And if the buyer says, I want you to pay for my agent as well. I want you to pay for, and what the seller's closing costs could be is, let's say the seller's closing cost is $10,000,
Hmm.
and and hey, well, if you're going to ask this price for this house, I'm willing to pay it, but you're going to pay my closing costs, and you're going to pay my
Right.
my agent, and you're going to pay for repairs, or whatever. So those are the kinds of things that makes it a buyer's market.
Hmm.
So it's a supply and demand thing. So if the demand is not as high as the homes available,
Hmm.
right? Then that makes it your buyer's market.
Now, can it be a buyer's market in different segments? Now, let's say you have houses $500,000 and up, and maybe it's a seller's market there, but in houses $400,000 and below, it could be a buyer's market. I can imagine that because I know demographics, you might have a whole lot more 20 and 30 somethings looking for a smaller, more modestly priced home than somebody who's been around a few years and is looking for something a little bit more spacious, palatial, that kind of
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah, so what you're describing there is a kind of sectional type of buyer's market versus a seller's market. And that sectional is based on generational.
Mm,
So if the persons who are in the millennial age group, the under 40s,
hmm.
okay, those folks are if there's not that many of them looking, then it could be where it's like there's no demand in that area, but maybe
Hmm.
there's a demand in the baby boomers,
Yeah.
and where they're now selling their houses and they're buying new ones that are much smaller.
Well,
So when they're buying new ones that are much smaller, that competes against the first time home buyers.
I see the downsizers, the one
Yeah.
stories, yeah, hey, they were empty nesters, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
so that
makes sense.
competition could actually breed a little bit more of a seller's market in those cases.
Yeah, that's why it was sensing that the demographic, because I know in radio is like, well, are you broadcasting to 35 to 64-year olds or are you, and it depends on who you are. And I see, Waynesboro's building a whole bunch of these attached communities. Uh,
Right.
Palmyra is building a whole bunch of these attached communities, townhouses kind of
Mhm.
things. So it certainly seems like there's more inventory getting built in those worlds. But I guess that's it's not just a matter of wait till somebody's selling a house, is who's building houses that could lead to a buyer's or a seller's market, couldn't it?
That's right. That's right. So you're looking, you know, in a build situation, it's a new construction. There are certain builders now that will strictly only build townhouses.
Hmm.
And the reason is because the land is so doggone expensive.
Oh,
So what
yeah.
they do is they stuff in 2,000 square feet into a three-story townhouse.
Hmm.
And and then what it, who's that going to completely eliminate at that point? Typically the baby boomers who are wanting to age in place and they
Right.
don't want to have to, you know, traverse two flights of stairs to get to their bedroom.
Hmm. Right. As a matter of fact, a lot of folks like yourself will, if you find somebody, older than me, that you'll gently lead us towards single level homes.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. So let's flip it now and talk about a little bit more about the seller's market that I was kind of trying to introduce there, and that is that if there are fewer homes available, then there are buyers that are looking to buy a home.
Hmm.
Then what that creates is a very competitive environment. There might be bidding wars. There might be very quick sales. People might do not a great idea to do this, but people would, I just need to get this home. I'm going to waive my home inspection. The craziness that went on during 2020 and up to 2022, 2023, and 20, and even a little of 24.
My right eye still twitches thinking about it. It's like Inspector Dreyfus. You say Clouseau? Okay, I remember those driving home from the first walkthrough of a house, getting a call saying, "Yeah, it just got sold,
Yep.
cash, 20% over ask." I'm like, how are we going to survive this?
So exactly. But sellers can offer, those uh or let me just say, sellers can offer also to make their, if it's not a seller's market, okay, but let's say this one is, they can secure these higher prices because of the lack of inventory, and they can secure more favorable terms for them
Hmm.
because of the lack of inventory. Also, you know, they don't preparing that home properly. We talked about strategically doing this many times ago that we've met, but on
Staging and
the
all that,
staging and stuff like that. But here's the thing, it's still key to attract strong offers even in a seller's market to to ensure a smooth closing, because you don't want the home inspection to fail like miserably.
Hmm.
So yes, it's a seller's market if the economic standpoint and the demographic standpoint is in the seller's favor. But how can a seller make it a seller's market for their particular home? And that
Interesting.
would be do some of the things that we talked about. Do not just staging, but getting the house prepared for the market
Hmm.
completely, everything from A to Z. But how can you tell which market you're in? And so that market type that you're in is usually reflected somehow through a pace of sales. So how many homes are available and how close to the sales price is the home, and what versus what it was listed for.
Hmm.
If in these hot markets, homes can sell within days, sometimes even hours, and often well above their asking price. But in slower markets, those listings will stay active longer. They're going to require more negotiation, and an agent can advise you on those things. An agent is a realtor member of the NAR. Would be the ones to get in touch with. Go to
Hmm.
findhomesrealty.com/podcast, and you'll end up learning that if you're dealing with Find Homes Realty, we will be able to give you the best negotiations, the best terms, the best prices for no matter who our clients are. But on these on these kinds of trends that we're talking about, uh, we can help you interpret what is going on. So be in touch with a realtor to get that
Hmm.
advice and figure out what your goals are and how it's going to affect you, right?
Well, and you've talked about this in the past, and this is one of those reasons that, it's the National Association of Realtors has its code of ethics,
Mhm.
but you at Find Homes Realty go above and beyond. You have your own beyond that. Said all that's all well and good.
Yep.
We raise ourselves to a higher standard,
Mhm.
and that's important. I think if you're, especially if you're a buyer and it's a seller's market, and I call Cynthia Hash, and you're not doing something slapdash just to get me off your
Right.
call sheet. You're looking out for my best interests.
Absolutely. And our core values tell the whole story. We have, so not only do we follow those code of ethics for the NAR, but we also have that we take very seriously and very to heart our core values as well. Um,
Mm.
so, so, so what, if you are in a seller's market, what should buyers do? That's a good one.
Yeah.
Right? So if the buyers are facing like very heavy competition, they should come completely prepared with a pre-approval letter, number one,
Mm.
and move very quickly when a good listing does appear. So you make these strong offers, as strong as you possibly can, and waive as many contingencies as you possibly can, or offer some sort of flexible terms that would strengthen your offer. So
Mhm.
it could be anything from an escalation clause that makes you not pay over your top dollar, but still over your competitions. It could be it could be doing things like, I'll do a home inspection, but I'm going to put a clause in that says it's going to be as is. We'll accept it regardless. This is just for informational purposes only. Those kinds
Oh,
of
okay.
things.
Yeah, so you
Um,
just want to know what's afoot. It's not gonna blow up the deal or anything.
right, right,
Interesting.
yeah.
Interesting.
So there's a lot of tricks to the trade that a determined and conscientious realtor will be able to help you with. So also, you don't want to overextend yourself.
Hmm.
Good grief, don't become house poor
Oh yeah.
because
Oh
that
yeah.
process is just a very even if the process gets very competitive, don't overextend yourself. And this is why when you go to an auction, bidding is a thing.
Hmm.
So if you're bidding and you have to bid in such a way that you have an exit plan, you're not going to go over X dollar, period, no matter what happens.
Right.
And so don't basically don't overdo it. So and also make sure that when you're selecting a buyer's agent, you ask ask the right questions. Make sure you're working with an agent who best fits your needs, not because their hair is purple. Just make sure you are able to get the professional that you know will do an excellent job for you.
Well,
So on the other side of this coin, what should sellers do in a buyer's market,
mhm,
right?
yeah.
So when there are more homes than we're interested that are, that have any kind of interested buyers, sellers need to look for ways to prioritize making their property stand out, which is some of the things we were talking about before, staging. And so part of staging could be a paint job inside and out.
Oh
And
yeah.
but it also could be a competitive pricing. So don't overprice. Maybe you might be investing in that curb appeal or staging,
Hmm.
but you're going to get more than that money back, and you're going to sell quicker than maybe your competition.
And this is something a realtor would be, particularly adept at saying, oh, okay, these are the people you want to call for this because
That's right.
you'll stand the chance to get there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Also, be flexible. Be flexible on timelines. Maybe be flexible enough to where, let's say you have a vacant house and that vacant, and maybe be flexible on the terms that these other people are selling their other house in another state somewhere. Just build a relationship with that other agent in that other state, and maybe allow for a house to sell contingency,
See.
and then allow that buyer, charge them rent, but allow that buyer to maybe move in a week early or something. So that's a possession by purchaser agreement. So if you are a seller in a buyer's market, these are the things that you can do to create a better environment and make your dangling carrot look a lot better than the other ones.
You paint quite a picture there. The thing I was thinking about when you were talking about becoming house poor, I think
Mhm.
of all the perils, and certainly it's perilous if you're in a buyer's market and you aren't going to be able to recoup what you maybe need to out of your house. That's one peril of the market.
That would probably be a seller's market
Yeah, that but
because
I was thinking of both different. Like, there's a
yeah,
peril. The seller's market is, but in the buyer's market, I think it's very perilous. And yeah, and I would imagine that far more critical is a couple that winds up buying more house than they can afford or are ready for.
that's exactly right. And quite frankly, don't do silly things like let's buy a whole household full of furniture. Let's go to wherever your favorite furniture store is and put everything on credit, or
Hmm.
something where oh, I've never had a dining room before, so I'm going to buy a dining room set. No, 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 no. Wait till you move in.
Yeah,
Wait till you get the feel of things. That dining room might end up becoming a different room.
an
Might end
office.
up becoming your office. Who knows?
Hmm.
So be just don't jump at things just because you're about ready to move into a home, and quite frankly that could mess up your credit,
Is
so
that
don't do
something that
that.
happens to folks? Because I imagine that, when you get that first, oh, we're spending, all this money, you almost get high on it, and
You
you're like,
kind of do. Yeah, I'm afraid you do. And that's unfortunate. Don't go that route because honestly, that's not good for anybody. You don't want to be in the house with number one, houses nowadays actually are people want to, they're minimalists. They
yeah,
prefer not to have a whole bunch and of just stuff everywhere, right? And a
hmm,
lot of times that's a good thing. But if you're a seller in a buyer's market, then just you know appropriately price your home. It can still draw strong interest even when the overall pace of sales might be slowing down. And frankly, what we're in right now is I think a shifted market. So markets can the market conditions can change very quickly. So markets can shift in a quarter or over a month's time.
wow,
It can be very it can be due to I don't know interest rate changes maybe or job growth or seasonal trends, shifts in any kind of consumer confidence too. And I think that's why over the past year with the class action lawsuits and things like that in real estate, it just seems like consumer confidence hasn't been up. So I think that could be why
hmm,
we had that shift, right? Consumer confidence.
right,
So in the seller's market, um, if it's imbalanced or let's say it becomes more balanced,
hmm,
that's called a market that has shifted, but now it is stabilizing.
okay,
Yeah. And
all right,
so these things and I think right now we're in a more stable market than we've seen in 5 years. And I think
interesting.
that, yes, and I think that it's probably going to be even better uh, because interest rates are going down according to the Feds. So that's actually a good thing. And whatever these local trends, it can be very localized too. It doesn't necessarily have to be something that the Feds did. It could also be very localized.
Hmm.
So it could
Well, we're
be,
seeing that in Waynesboro a little bit with the
yeah,
pending arrival of Northrop Grumman. A lot of properties are going up in value, or the asking prices are going up,
right.
and people are saying, "Hang on a second here," and it's caused a little bit of a sticker shock in that area of
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Also, should you wait to do anything for a better market? Oh, good golly, I will
oh
be
boy.
so glad when everybody comes off their fence.
Well, but some people can't. I mean,
Hmm.
if you have to move somewhere,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can't sit and say, "Well, we'll get a big, refrigerator box and live in that until the market improves."
I know, right? But you can't turn, there's really no, it's very, very rare that if you're trying to time the market exactly perfectly, it can be very difficult, if not extremely rare. In most cases, everything like you're talking about, personal factors, life changes, job changes, financial readiness, all this stuff, long-term plans, whatever it might be, all that is more important than short-term market fluctuations.
I want to
So,
ask you. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
so be prepared to navigate any of the conditions that you might end up finding yourself in, whether it's a seller's market or a buyer's market. Just be prepared either way and be able to choose the best possible decisions because your future is what matters and what is right on the edge and of doing what could be the best for you. So
Mhm.
don't let a buyer or seller's market really hurt your decision to and make your decision like I'm not going to do this. I'm just going to sit here and pretend like nothing's happening.
So, in the last couple of minutes we have here, I want you to lay out some tools for the listener, because I know there's groups like CAR, and I think the NAR has a website as well, and you can look at some statistics. But let's just say for some reason you've decided to go with somebody and you don't necessarily feel like what's the stereotype? The used car salesman, and they want you to think that it's a seller's market so that you'll spend more, or they want to think it's a buyer's market and so you expect less, or whatever.
Yeah.
How do you look for yourself so you know if you're dealing, obviously, if you go to Find Homes Realty, you don't need to worry about that. But there are people out there who will try to sell up, sell down. They're always trying to, for whatever reason. What kind of stats should people be looking for on some of these websites to be indicative of what is a buyer's or seller's market?
So, I mean, you can go to all kinds of places online to find some of these stats, and you can look everything up on all the famous websites that people, I'm not going to mention them, but all that people have a tendency to go to. Don't don't take it for gospel though.
Hmm.
What you need to be able to, they've never been to your house. They don't know what it could sell for. They don't know that you finished the basement. They don't know that you made the garage into a rec room. They don't know that you put this gorgeous fancy fence all around your yard. They don't know any of these things. But who would? When you interview an agent, ask them what's their experience, what can they do for you as far as a seller goes for marketing. On a buyer side, what can you do for me so I'm not overpaying for a property? Those kinds of things. And make sure that when you're looking at whatever fair market value is,
Hmm.
it's going to decline during a market shift. Like if it like from a seller's market to a buyer's market, it's going to decline.
Hmm.
So if you're putting your house on the market for $500,000 when the fair market value is 450, is that a wise idea? Probably not.
Better
And
have
if
a heck
you're
of a finished basement if you are.
I know, right? But yeah, the cost of overpricing is just nothing but amplified after a shift. It's it, this the competition, the staleness, all that kind of stuff, sitting on the market. What's wrong with this house? And
Hmm.
those kinds of things. You don't want to be in that position. So get a realtor. Go to findhomesrealty.com/podcast and we'll get you in touch with, you'll see all of our nice shows, and we'll also help you get in touch with the best agent for you.
Yeah, it's like the Encyclopedia Britannica. I think we're having our 50th episode next week. So,
Oh, wow, that's pretty cool.
we should have a parade or something. Cynthia, you have a wonderful Saturday, and don't forget tomorrow, 2 o'clock up in Ruckersville.
Yes, no, yes, correct. On in Hancock Farms.